Hey everybody, welcome back. My name's Charles. We're heading back over to Oxford, heading back to the haunted house. I'm going to catch you up on everything that we've gotten done the last few weeks. I was trying to do this along the way, and the footage got all sorts of just jumbled, and we just didn't get very much. I do have some in there, so as I talk through some of the changes that we've done, some of the projects we've got knocked off the list, I'll go back and if I can find that footage, I'll throw it back on top of it. But for the meantime, we're going to go over, we've got some stuff to set up. I've got some stuff to load into the car. So let's get over there and show you what we've done, figure out what we're doing, and figure out what's left to go. So, see you over there. All right, so we're over here at the house now. Before we get started, before we do the catching up of everything we're going through, just wanted to say my heartfelt prayers and thoughts out to the families in the apartment next door. About a month ago or so, there was a fire that broke out, and it displaced everybody in the building, and I feel really bad about that. It's a nice historic, the whole street is the historic district, and it's another nice historic house that unfortunately was damaged. Luckily, the landlord has said that they plan on rebuilding it, repairing it, everything that was damaged. But again, for the interim, the families have all been displaced, and I feel really bad about that. So anyway, on to our side. We have been working pretty good over the last few weeks, on and off. We haven't had a lot of time. Last year, going into October, I had the entire month off. And that was great because I got a lot done very quickly. And it also was great because last year we did expand everything to include the whole back half of the house. This year, most of that is all already in place. We just have to tweak things and change things around and stuff. But still, it sucks when you can't work on a lot of stuff. So, first things first, if we come outside, you'll see Wednesday night, I think it was after work, I put up my fence. And probably needed to mow the lawn and rake the leaves one more time, but I haven't done that yet. But it does clear off my porch, and we're going to be getting to that today, so I wanted the room. So that's what we're doing here. But I'm going to turn you around and we're going to walk through. I'm going to give you a first-person point of view as we walk through the house, show you everything that we've done so far from the last one. All right, so first things first, when we walk in, you'll see we've got our Smoldering Reaper, who's acting a little strange at the moment. I'm not sure why. Now this guy is kind of acting as my gatekeeper into this. Obviously you can't go up the stairs behind him, not that you could anyway. I mean, might be hard to tell, but they're not exactly square. So I moved him out here after I moved the Boogeyman out here. I originally started with him where the Reaper is, but his arms are so far sticking out and he moves back and forth that he really covered up the doorway and you couldn't get by him. So I put the Reaper here. We're not totally sold on him, but for now that's what we're going to do. I'm hoping that maybe I can get the Boogeyman to fit in this doorway properly. Now Zero's going to go outside. Some of these other props I have not yet figured out what we're going to do with yet. But Jack needs to come outside. He's kind of in pieces, but he needs to go outside, and then we can start moving things around, Jack and Zero, and we get all these things out, and then maybe we can figure out where to get the boxes stored and figure out what's going to go where. Now, if we come down the hallway, we've changed a couple things. We did move our Lunging Reaper out from in here, and instead we have the Hauntress in here. And down here on the floor, right here, we have our motion sensor. So as you walk by, you trigger the motion sensor, and then the timing should dictate that she jumps out about when you get here. So that's kind of neat. If we come into this main room here, again, Plague Doctor just chilling, doing things. And this is kind of where the Lunging Reaper is gone for the time being. I don't know as I'm leaving him here yet or not, but I might, I don't know. We have our fireplace around. Now these guys obviously are going to go out front. Down here we did bring our fireplace over, which is very comically small inside such a big fireplace surround. But it's really not so much for the aesthetics as it is for actually having a heating element. So you can hear right there, we can hear the generator ramp up because of the extra power draw. The whole purpose of having this really is, in case it gets cold in here, the director person that's in this room will be able to then turn around and, not freeze. Let's go out into the Nosferatu room real quick. This would be the alternate exit. Not really much has changed since the last one, and nothing really is going to. I did put a hat on him, and he does work. I have to kind of find a better way of arranging my skeletons. I did buy an ultraposable. I finally found one. But we're just going to, this room is going to be basically just this. Nothing crazy, just plain and simple. And, well, shouldn't be a whole lot of people that come through this way anyway. And we're going to come out this way, back into this room. Now, we do have Barry here in the cage. He does work pretty well. At least this year I don't have to tie his cage up. Now the first year I had him here, I had him tied there, and I actually had to tie some string to the cage so it wouldn't shake very much, because it almost seemed like he was shaking himself enough to the point where he just kept tripping himself. So this year though, he works pretty well. You can kind of see where I'm standing in the middle of the room. Right about here, he will activate, so pretty cool. You can see we've also got our chains hooked up, our safety chains, our boundary chains, whatever you want to call them, and we'll talk a little bit more of them in a little bit. Come into this room, our gory room of whatever. A couple things in here. This really hasn't changed. The twins haven't changed. There's Rick. Now, funny story about Rick Ratman. If you remember from the other video, I didn't have the power adapter originally, and I thought I had lost it. Well, I came back over a day or two later, and I found that I had just overlooked it in the box. So, yay! And then I lost it again. I took it out of the box, I set it somewhere, so that way I lost it. I don't know what I did with it. I still don't know what I've done with it. I have not found it yet. So I just grabbed another 6-volt 2-amp power supply, which is exactly what he's rated for according to the box, and I plugged it in. I made sure all the polarities are correct, and nothing happened. He kind of clicked a little bit. There were a couple clicking noises I could hear, not like motor clicking, but almost like an electronic clicking, like a relay clicking, if you will. But he wouldn't activate. So I went and got one of my Spirit remote receivers, and I tried triggering it with a remote, and that didn't work. And then I started smelling electronic smoke. So kind of a bummer, because I kind of wanted him for him, but at this point I'm too lazy and cheap to really deal with going back and getting another one. And I've justified him being a static prop only in the sense that these two are going to be making noise. Demonica is going to be making noise. Spike is going to be making noise. There's going to be a lot of noise in here already as it is. So having Rick not doing anything, I mean, still very annoyed, but it is what it is. Now, I've bought a couple dozen animatronics over the last few years building this up. So having one of them be DOA is not the end of the world as far as percentages go. It's annoying, yes, but like I said, I just don't have the time or energy to try to swap them out or return them or anything like that. It is the downfall with these things. Most of the time you unbox them, you get everything all hooked up, and he was a pain to get together with that opening, with the plastic and everything. He was a pain. Just a lot of fiddly parts. But you go through all this trouble to get them together only to find out they don't work. Then you have to figure out how to take it all back together and get it all back in the box, take it back to the store. Like, it's a pain, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So he's a static prop, and he may still be a static prop for the rest of his life. I may not even just toss him. I may just keep him as a static prop. But anyway, that is to say that this room is, for the most part, pretty much done in here. A couple other things we did in here real quick. I don't know if I mentioned, but I have this torso, and then the bottom torso was actually something I found on Etsy. The top one I think came from HalloweenCostumes.com maybe. It's just kind of a corpsed torso upper half. And then I found the lower torso on Etsy from a seller. It was like $37, I think, or something like that. Now this is toddler size, but it's kind of almost in the right proportions. But really cool. They're just kind of stuffed together jeans with then some, painted and maggoted up spray foam at the top. So really fun little thing, and it actually worked out pretty good to have them hanging there. I don't know, I like it. So anyway, now right up here you can see we've relocated the motion sensor for our Sprite media player, and that activates the twins. I don't know if I've talked much about it, but just in a nutshell, the Sprite media player you can use to trigger usually like videos on a projector or something. That's what I did the very first year. In this room, actually, I had a curtain over the screen and then a projector hidden back here in the corner. And when people would walk close, it would trigger that motion sensor, which then triggers the Sprite media player to play a file, which then projects out of the projector. Now last year, I took that Sprite media player and I went to audio only with the growling zombie sounds, and it works out well. So I just run it as an external speaker out of the Sprite media player, and then the motion sensor triggers the sound file to play on the media player, which then sends the audio out, and it works pretty well. I do like it. And yeah, cool stuff. I think I talked about speakers before, but if not, I'll do that in a little bit. All right, so coming into the witch's den, we do have some stanchions here that I need to get some sand or something to fill in. But obviously, as you can tell, we're going to have this all gated off. So over here on the side, nothing fancy, berries in there. We've just got more decorations on the table. I have to figure out where the witches are going to go. I have to fix her pants. We've bought a few extra skulls along the way. And this room is basically done with two exceptions. One, we need to do some cleanup and just organizing the props and putting them in a spot. Like this table needs to come over farther. It just can't from where it is because I need to get out this door for the time being. So we need to move it over just a little bit, I think, or at least forward something. The other thing we have to do in here is we have to get our prop controller hooked up. And that will hook to both of the witches so they can be set off in sequence, as well as playing additional eerie, spooky music. Otherwise, though, this room is mostly done. Now, I bought this little poison bottle from, I think, Michael's. Might have been, I think it was Michael's. We've still got this one from last year. Some of these other skulls. I haven't even taken the plastic off. I've just left them for the time being. But there's a lot of little things like that in here, so that's cool. And continue around into the creepy room. Now, you can see that we've gotten our backdrops up. We ordered these from Amazon. They're 12 by 8. They were 50 some odd dollars a piece. I ordered 2 of them, and they actually look out pretty well. I don't mind how they look. Looks even better when it's all lit up in here like it would be. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Then we went through, like over here you can see, might be hard to make out here in the dark. It's actually lighter on camera than it is to the eye, but if we turn this back on, you can see all I did is I just took some black spray paint and just spray painted over the walls just to kind of darken them down because they were like this. And we wanted that to not be so noticeable when you're walking in there. But again, you turn on this and it works out pretty good. Another neat little trick I have, we got this done. We mounted a projector up here. And now that projector is going to project over here onto the wall. Now, for the moment, it's pretty bright. But I have the actual picture quality turned down. There we go. So you'll see this will dim out pretty good. And then there you go. It is a little bit brighter, but this was originally a lot brighter. I want that hole over a little farther. There we go. This was originally a lot brighter, and it made the room a lot brighter. It still does wash out the color a little bit, at least on that wall, mainly because the blue was kind of, you know, reflecting off of this this backdrop. So we did put that there. We did dim it down a bit with the brightness and contrast. And all we're doing is just kind of running through different things. I might need to drop that down angle-wise just a hair, and we'll play with that. But anyway, that's kind of a neat little thing. We have this room almost done as well, other than, again, the controllers and the sound effects. Now, the controllers I have outside, and I have to actually figure out how I'm going to do that. But sound effects-wise, talk about that in a minute. I'll come back through and we'll talk about it. But for the moment, I have an idea, so we'll get to that here shortly. All right, into the electroshock therapy whatever room. Yay. A couple things going on. We've gotten our industrial light up here and wired, so that's why it's all white in here, red in here. That's why it's all red in here. That's what I meant to say. And then we just kind of built a little box over here to make it look kind of like a control area thing. And that was just using a bunch of little buttons and LEDs and just the cheapest gauges I can find on Amazon that made it look kind of funky. And the main purpose of this box is basically just to kind of hide the stuff that's behind it, extension cords and stuff. I'm going to go through, I need to pull down that little bracket right there anyway for one of the motion sensors, and I'm going to just kind of unstaple the creepy cloth, hide the cords behind it, and put the cloth back up. Here's a chair, and there's a big old knife switch. Now the way I envision this working is, come Halloween night, there will be somebody sitting in this chair. Now, they don't have to be dressed up in costume. They could if they wanted to. I could give them the lab coat or something, but they don't have to. But they'll be sitting here, and when people walk in this door, they will, you know, greet them. And hopefully there's another actor on the rack, and then that actor will be like, oh, thank God, you've come to save me. And then this person here where I'm sitting will say something to the effect of, shut up, fool! Or something. I don't think I can get Mr. T to come act, but they'll just basically say something, banter back and forth or whatever. And this switch, well, this switch is the one that, when thrown, I forgot I had this window open. That's where the cat's getting in. Oh, smarts. My bad. Yeah, we're closing that window here today. I kept finding a cat in here, and I couldn't figure out how they were getting in. I'd closed all the downstairs windows, and now I know. Anyway, back to what I was saying. They're going to banter back and forth, and then this knife switch is now set up as my trigger. So I don't know if I've shown it yet, but we're going to turn this around. I'm going to show you the effect that this has. Ready? We're going to flip the switch. Now, that effect is done using our Peekaboo controllers, and I think I've talked about these before. And we have one back here. It's a Peekaboo Junior. And then down below, down there in the bottom behind there, is the Peekaboo AC accessory. And we won't get into too much of that detail, but suffice it to say that there are some outlets on that accessory box. So when the Peekaboo triggers it, the outlets do things. So there's an always on outlet, which is currently running other things. There's a normally on, which is the red light, and then there's a normally off, which is what the strobe light and the flash cracker are currently set to. So when that gets triggered, the ones that are normally off turn on, the ones that are normally on turn off, and that's why the red light goes off, those come on. Now, it's not perfect because it cycles, right? I'm triggering, it's not a full solid send, right? It's triggering. That's why you hear it kind of stop, start, stop, start, stop. And they actually alternate in between. But the effect is kind of neat because when the strobe light is going off, the shocking is happening. Think of it as, you know, those movies like when Clark Griswold fires up the lights and the nuclear generator has to kick on because everybody else's lights dim real quick, right? So like the power draw of this shocking has caused the light to dim. And then when there's no more draw, the light comes back on. And when there's draw, it dims, like that sort of thing. That's kind of the effect that I have. And I like it that way. It's pretty neat. And for as simple and cheap as it is, kind of like how that works. So that's how that is currently set up. The only downfall in here is I don't actually have any regular non-red lights. Now this maze is designed to be basically, here's your candle. Now this is brighter than it normally would be, so we're going to have more light in there than we normally would. But the person that is sitting here is also going to hand them your candle, say, here's your candle. Good luck, have fun, come back soon. So we come in here, first thing we've got Art over here in the corner. Hi, Art. Remains to be seen if I'm going to chain off this corner, and it depends on where. I might. There's a stud right here in the wall. I might be able to just run a chain there. His hands will stick out over it, but I think that's the only one we've got, and it would just be nice to have him chained up. Chains give people a reason to not go buy them. Anyway, we're going to turn. We're going to keep coming down through here. This door I actually have to figure out how to close because there's not going to be anybody in it, and I want it closed so nobody tries to open it to see what's in it or whatever. We come around this corner and then this corner. Now this is where it gets fun for me. I'm going to be an actor in here, and this is actually, there's a hole here. You wouldn't know it to just first look. And we've done this on purpose. We put creepy cloth, you can see the texture behind the candle here, on all the plastic sheathing. There's plastic sheathing that makes the walls, and then I put layers of creepy cloth on it to give it texture. So when we get to here, so for example, right here is where the door starts, but texture, you really don't notice that there's a hole there, and that makes it interesting. All right, we keep coming this way. I used to have something that I tried to put on this wall, but it fell off because, of course, this wall is not sticky. So we've just kind of creepy clothed over everything. Down here, we've got the twitching clown. In here is my hiding spot, which is pretty fun. We'll get back to that in a minute. We come around here. I've got some stuff not to trip over because I haven't cleaned it yet. If we come down through here, you might not be able to see him. Nope, cardboard box. But there's Dagger Mike. More words. And then we make the final turn out to here, and then this is where the doorway will be that people will then, get blinded and then go outside. I have to, do something out here. But that's the final exit, and from there on we go out. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but we had these string lights above my head, and they're on a remote control. I then came through and I replaced a couple of bulbs. Most of these are little 1-watters, but I replaced a couple of them, like the one right over my head, with I think they're like 20-watt bulbs. Now, it's not like it's hard to get the string to work for 20 watts or anything like that. It's just that I couldn't see anything. It was bright enough, but not bright enough, if you know what I mean. So here's my hidey hole. I am probably going to be the actor back here. So if we come into my little hidey hole here, we're going to turn on my little lantern that I've just got chilling in here for the time being. And this is where I'm going to spend my time, Halloween night, hopefully. And yeah, here's the cutout for that door. But again, when it's dark everywhere, you don't see me here. So the idea being, right now at least, I was originally planning on using this as my pop out at people thing, but then I got thinking, if I do that, it's right at them, and I don't want to be that guy on YouTube that gets punched when he scares somebody. So this might just be my my entryway in and out. We don't know yet, but so that might just be my entryway in and out. That's probably what I'm going to do. But what I'm going to do is get like a flashlight or something, and I'm just going to stand here. And then as people walk by, I can, bam, hit the flashlight, and then they're going to see me through this wall. And then, yeah, that would be pretty fun. The other thing we have in here is we have a big speaker. My PA speaker is down here. It is basically, here's the thing. I was touting its awesomeness for the longest time. I like it. It's wireless and everything, but the battery is basically just gone to crap. So while I could turn it on right now and it'll start playing, battery's dead already. So yeah, that's fun. Anyway, another thing about back here is the way this is going to be working is I'll be able to hear when the people are in the first room there getting that shock go off, right? I'm going to hear that go off. So I can be back here just kind of chilling, and I'll be back here. Now, obviously, we're going to have the regular lights will be off, and I'll just be chilling back here with my little light. Now, this light, we're going to leave it on. We're going to walk around real quick. Once you're on the other side of this wall, here we are in the first part of the maze. Like, you can barely tell that there's a light around this corner, and that's going to be going off as soon as I hear the shock. So let's come back around to not walk face first into a wall this time. There we go. So we come back in here. So I'll be in here chilling. I'll hear that shock go off. I'll hear that room, turn that off. And then as soon as I hear them say, take your candle, get out of here. And then I can turn on that speaker. Now, I'm going to find my remote. I have a remote control, and if I can't, I'll just use the play pause button, which is right here. Third button over is the play pause button. So I can just reach down, hit that button, and start playing that music right as they come through. So the plan in that room will basically be, I'll hear them coming, I'll turn on the speaker, turn off my light, wait for them to show up. I'll grab a flashlight or something, so as soon as they get, close to me on that thing, I can go, boo, right? And then scare them as they walk in. They're going to then go around the corner, and on the other side of that wall, I've got a little tiny slit cut out, and I'm going to have a psst, psst, air blaster that I can blast air that'll shock them, surprise them as they walk by. Now, the other thing that we have done since the last time is we did make a new generator box. Let me grab my drill and we'll show you about it. All right, so the way this generator box works is it's a box with a generator sitting in it. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack with this picture, so bear with me. Anyway, this generator, I went and I bought a dolly, and I think I mentioned this before, but I bought this little dolly from Harbor Freight because this was the cheapest wooden dolly I could. I used some just U-clamps, and I clamped the frame of the generator right to that dolly, so now it can't like wobble off of it or anything like that. And the reason for that is because all the controls right now are on the front of the generator, so easy enough. But if I need to pull start it, that pull start goes towards the back. Makes it a pain. So now I can just wheel this out, turn it on, pull start it, and then just wheel it right back into place. So that's the generator box. We got that done. Cool. All right, so here's a laundry list of everything we need to get done over here still. We need to figure out the front yard. We need to put up our props on the front porch, Jack Skellington, Zero, whatever else. Problem with my front yard is that I like having everything that can't get wet, right? Like the regular props. I want to have a way to get them back up on the porch. Like last year, for example, the Black Heart, Dark Heart, whatever the damn thing's called, had it right down there, and then if I was leaving at the end of the night, I would just lift it up over the railing, set it on the porch, and then it was safe. Likewise, I had Jack Prowler, Jack Stalker, Prowling Jack, whatever that one is, was down here. I like that prop. I might switch it out this year just because it's, been there for the same 2 years now. So might switch him out, put something else down there. But we're gonna move the same thing. Like at the end of the day, end of the night, I would just bring him up and put him up here. But I want to have enough room on the porch that I can shelter all the props from the wind and the rain when I'm not having them out there. Tombstones and stuff, sure, they can stay down there all day long, but the regular props, I want to be able to get them up here relatively quickly. But we still need to figure out that, get more tombstones and stuff. I need to take the coffin down because we're going to put that done. So that's what we're going to do today, is just work on the front porch stuff a little bit. Some of the other stuff we need to do. Now, right where I'm standing, the floorboards have a bit of a, we'll call them a soft spot. Now there's two things with the floor joists. I may be able to just screw them directly down through the floorboards onto the joist and call it a day, or I might have to go downstairs, tear off the false ceiling above the breaker panel area, and then brace it from underneath. I like having the squishy floor, but here's a problem, right? Watch the Reaper. Right? He creaks around a little bit. Now I can adjust for that by screwing a clamp down and screwing him onto the floor that way. But I think if I just screw the floor down, like these floors are just really wide beams. They're not really fancy. So I may just screw these down and call that good there. Now as we come into the rest of the house, most of what we need to do is just general cleanup and pretty much it, really. We've got the controller in the witch's den, the controller in the creepy room. Those both need to be set up. The motion sensors set to them, and then we have to figure out the sound effects and whatnot. Figuring the sound effects out will be pretty easy, but I need to get them in line and get the controllers and everything run so actually everything works with the motion sensors and everything. We need to do that. So we're going to work on that today too. And that's the most part there. The last few things we need to do haunted house-wise is in the back room, in the maze, we need to actually run power to where all the props are going to be. I don't know how well they're going to work in the dark, but we're going to find out. I also I'm going to take the little push button switch and I'm going to run him to Dagger Mike, so he can be another thing I can control from within inside my little hidey hole there. So when people make the turn around the corner, right before I hit him with the air, I can set off Dagger Mike because he's got that lead up. He sits there and he giggles and he giggles and he giggles and then he jumps. So I can turn him on as people make that corner. They're going to see him start giggling in the corner before they really see him, and then they're going to get close to him. I'm going to spray him and then he's going to jump and it's going to be a whole thing. But we need to get the power run through there. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to buy some cord and some vampire plugs and just make my own drop cords for where they need to go. The house itself is actually getting pretty darn close. And just as a side note, if you're wondering why that window is open, the person that's handing out the candles is not the only part of the maze, right? At the end of the maze, those people need to give the candles back. I don't have candles for everybody, and I'm not planning on giving candles to everybody. So we've got a box, right? We're probably going to need more than one box. And then these are the candles we're actually going to be using. They're these guys right here. Guy sitting in the chair hands out a candle as people go through. Here's your candle. It is your only light source. Treat it with respect or whatever, right? They're going to go through the maze. But at the end of the maze, out in that last room, I need someone to say, hey, watch your step, and B, give me back the candles. I need to figure out a way to get those candles back, and I was thinking maybe what we could do is we could just have the person that collects them just have their own little box that's collecting them, and then just run them back up and just hand them through the window to the guy in the room there. And obviously when there's nobody in the room or something, but that's kind of the one outlier for right now that I haven't 100% figured out. All right, now real quick, let's talk about the whole having the chains thing. Now, I've mentioned this before, I think, but in short, the chains serve two purposes. First, they give people a dedicated path to go through that will ultimately make it quicker for people to go through. And the reason for that is, well, twofold. One is you don't have the ability to go wandering around the rooms like we did last year. Most people went in the same direction just fine. It's not like they got lost. But, when there's more of a room to walk into, you tend to lose some time that way. When you have a chained off path, just inherent nature for people is to, just kind of move faster. So you walk in, you look at what you're doing, and then you say, okay, that's cool, and then you keep going. It's just the way it works. And by not having people wandering around, it means that that group goes through, the next group can come in quicker. The other reason is, and I don't know how it's going to work this year, but the other reason is to keep people from touching stuff. So some of the props I have are good props from like Distortions, like the Lullaby, um, Wretched, Debbie, things like that. Like the Lullaby was $600 almost by the time I paid for that in shipping. Right? It's. I mean, there's obviously props that are a lot more expensive, but I mean, still, even for a basic prop like that, $600. I don't want people touching stuff. Is what I'm saying. Some of the props are more expensive than others, but all the props are mine. I bought them. I paid for them. My own money. Like, don't touch my stuff. And last year we did have one/two troublemakers. They were, younger boy trying to impress a younger girl, and so it was I don't know, 10, 12-year-old boy and girl that came through, and he was very handsy. The problem is, I mean, I was here by myself, but I have cameras, and I'm watching the cameras. And he would go in, and Spike was in the wall, and he would grab him and shake him, and hey, what's going on, man? Like that sort of thing, like trying to act like all impressive to the girl he was with. I'm sure that's what he was doing, but I wasn't going to have that because I don't want you touching my stuff. So I walked in and said, hey, please don't touch everything. Like I can see on the cameras, please don't touch my stuff. Sorry, sorry, sorry. So I turn around to go back out front. He goes into like the next room, and did it again. Like, are you serious? And at that point I told him he had to leave. Now, in the lead up, I would have people that would come over, and they would go through a few times, or my neighbors' kids that I didn't mind, they would come through, and they would go through a few times and just enjoy having fun with their friends, over and over and over and over and over again. These other two, though, it wasn't like that. They were running in through all the rooms and everything. Like, there's an obvious flow chart for the house, but I mean, unless you've got someone hand holding them. And when I'm here by myself, I didn't really have that. I wasn't like following them through, and it was just a lack of respect more than anything. So by chaining things off a little bit, then it makes it easier to do two things: one, to get people through faster, but two, the rule is very simple: go outside the chains, you're done. Very simple. Stay within the chains. Don't touch stuff. If you do, you're done. That simple stuff. Anyway, that's the reason the whole chains are up there, and also the reason why we're putting the cameras up. And the downfall to that, and I got thinking about this, is if I'm going to run this solo, any point in time before Halloween night, how do I maintain control of people back in the maze? The rest of the house, relatively simple for me to get a hold of. But in the maze, that's a little bit trickier. Now, I say that only in the sense of like the neighborhood kids that I do like going through. The maze is too dark. It's not like the rest of the house where you can see what you're doing. I don't want people running through, banging into the walls, knocking through the walls, ripping stuff. Like that part, not good. And I don't have a real good way for people to go in and then come back out, really. So I haven't figured that part out yet. As far as the actual walkthrough goes, I do have a plan for running this entire thing solo. Let's say, for example, we want to run this thing completely solo. I have it mostly figured out. Now, last year, I would meet people here at the thing, at the door. I would say, go into that first room, under the big spider, and wait for me. And then I would follow them through. And then when they would get there, I would tell them, okay, you can go here, blah, 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 blah. This year, though, I won't be doing that. I will hand them a candle here because obviously I won't have any helpers. So I will hand them a candle at the front door and say, hey, you're going to need this when you get, to the last room. So hold on to it. I will get it back when you get done. Now, they would then walk through, and I would just tell them, follow the chains, stay to the left in the first room, go through the left door, follow the chains all the way around, enjoy your time. Now, I would then let them in here. As soon as they walk in, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to run, go all the way into the side door into the maze, and go position myself in the maze waiting for them to show up. Now, once they hit this room, I'm going to rewire the beam sensor on solo nights and change the programming so they'll walk in. I don't need the light to turn on, but they will walk in, and then I'll give it like 2 seconds, and then I'll trigger the shocking effect, and that'll be that. We'll also, just let them know that when they see the sign that says caution, watch your step, which I have to put up here still, but when they see that sign, to make sure that they actually do, in fact, watch their step. Now, again, from this point, they're going to go into the maze. I will have already beaten them there by running around the building and into the side door and taking up position. So once they come in there, I'll be in there. I can scare them in costume. I'll have a mask or something I can throw on real quick, and I'll just scare them real quick. And then as they go through, I can boom, hit them with the burst of air, hit them with Dagger Mike, and then just let them know too, when you come out the back, just be careful. There's steps down and everything. There's light out there and everything, but I'll just tell them that. So once they get by me and I've scared them and I've blown the air at them and I've set off Dagger Mike to go off, soon as they leave there, I come out my little cubby hole and I come running all the way back through this way. And I can then come right back up through the front and meet them at the front to collect my candle. That's how I'm going to run it solo. So that was a very long video catching you up of everything that we've done. And if you made it this long, holy crap. I am going to get back to work and we're going to get some front porch done. Maybe I'll do a quick recap after I get some stuff done just to show you what we ended up with. Otherwise, stay tuned next time and we'll show you what we get done from there when we have more decorations up.